Hi, good morning. I've been trying to call you on Friday, but I couldn't get through. So basically, I received a letter telling me that somebody has opened up a credit card in my name, but that wasn't me.
I mean, at first I thought, oh, okay, I can sort it out. I'll call them on Monday. They will believe me. But then I had the thoughts of, what if they don't believe me? What if they think I stole the card? What if they think I lied? I was just so scared literally for 3 days until I got through to somebody. There was this fear of, what if they don't believe me? What if I have to now pay everything that these strangers have bought on my credit card, on my name? I was panicking, I was crying, I was depressed, I was calling people, I was like asking random people for help. You can't really do anything and you can't enjoy anything until that's sorted. So even working on the weekends as a dance instructor was very difficult for me, because I am supposed to be somebody that is zen and fully aligned. Not feeling confident, not feeling as if I was really authentic on that weekend was almost like I'm lying to the people around me as well as to myself. It wasn't specifically one bank, it was just I had no trust in the whole system anymore.
Hi, I've gone through my bank account statement,
Hi, yeah,
and I think
there's
there's
a problem.
some
Not
hidden
sure.
costs on it that I can see.
She's a real person, not an actress, victim of identity fraud. She had a loan for £12,000 taken out in her name. Since we've been here, 20 other people have had their identities used to take out loans, credit cards, facilities in their name. Moreover, identity fraud is costing the UK 1.8 billion a year. I think we've had a lot of statistics, it was mentioned earlier, and I think when I took from James is that you see the scale of the attacks and about the millions of attacks there are, then you can see how the scale of fraud actually equates to, that absolute industrialization of the threat. Right now, 64% of all cases in the National Fraud Database are identity fraud. And as we've pointed out, that's going up every couple of minutes. Also has an impact on business. A recent survey by our friends at Signicat of 900 fraud decision makers shows that identity fraud and the cost of trying to prevent it is impacting on 22% of annual revenue. Yet a lot of identity fraud is being misclassified as bad debt. That means we're underestimating the problem and misdirecting the response. Scams, identity theft, fraud are now everyday occurrences. Don't we all know someone who's been a victim of fraud? And you've all seen cases where accounts have been opened or purchases made using credit facilities in other people's names. This graph here shows identity fraud filings to Cifas over the last decade. In 2013, Cifas recorded just over 108,000 cases of identity fraud. But in just 10 years, that gone to over 250,000 cases. The dip that we've seen in 2020 coincided with the start of COVID. Could be many reasons why that was. Actually, quite a lot of our members were, there was an impact on actually filing during that period because everyone had to go and work from home. But what we saw, that fraudsters adapted quickly, exploiting the economic uncertainty and public vulnerability through the phishing campaigns that trick people into handing over their personal information and credentials. And identity fraud has continued on its upward trend. And now we're faced with a barrage of fraud attempts supercharged by AI and fraud as a service toolkits. It's the reason we had James in front of us here. High quality fake identity documents are now commonplace. Our members are filing those, dozens a day. And these factors, I think the rapid shift after COVID to a more digital life. Secondly, the democratization and wider availability of fraud kits. And thirdly, and now AI has created the perfect environment for the seemingly, never-ending growth in identity fraud. I think I took something back from this morning when Tony Craddock of the Payments Association said, imagine what life could be like in 5 years if we don't treat this as a crisis. Well, we've seen the graph of the last 10 years. Do we have to wait to 500,000, 1 million identities stolen every year? So fraudsters, have we shown, have access to tools to generate fake emails and texts at scale, and with increasing sophistication. During COVID, they impersonated banks, government agencies, even the NHS, sending fake texts about vaccines, emails offering grants, ads for investment schemes, and these were promising, stability in uncertain times. And I think it's a great example of commonplaces that we use in the fraud world, that fraudsters adapt to shifting conditions and consumer behavior. It was there. The evidence was there. We saw that happening. And after the pandemic, they quickly pivoted to exploit the cost of living crisis, launching scams that promised huge returns on investments, universal credit top-ups, winter fuel payments, preying on financial anxiety and making them dangerously persuasive, even if in the cold light of day, they appeared too good to be true. And today we see scams targeting people through familiar touchpoints like parcel delivery updates or those fear-based messages claiming someone has access to your account, urging you to act quickly before you have time to think. People click and trust. I don't think that's because they're careless, but because they're human. Perfect storm of vulnerability, technology, and emotional manipulation. Now, this graph shows the number of fake or altered photographic identity documents that have been filed to Cifas, where they have been used in an identity fraud attempt. That database is really valuable to our members. It's searchable by fraud investigators and holds thousands of faces and documents to match against in your investigations on high-risk applications. But AI-powered techniques now allowing fraudsters to generate synthetic identities, fake voices, and near-perfect counterfeit documents. And these are allowing them to bypass even sophisticated ID&V systems. We've seen scammers collect vast amounts of personal data through phishing, smishing, vishing, often by impersonated trusted entities like tech support, a manager, the bank, or well-known brands. Victims are manipulated into resetting passwords, clicking malicious links, making payment for non-existent services. And once that data is obtained, fraudsters use it at scale. All those tools that James was talking about is for a purpose, to collect the credentials to impersonate people, and deploying bots to automate credit applications to see what gets through. So the combination of high-tech tools, human manipulation, is making identity fraud more persuasive and more pervasive year on year, and harder to combat and spot for organizations and consumers. So now, existing consumer products, most of them available to consumers, I'd say, are reactive. They pretty much wait till something has gone wrong. They alert you after your data has been breached or once someone has already used your identity to apply for credit. Or worse still, the first time you realize that something's wrong is when a letter arrives through your door demanding payment for loans that you never took out, for a credit card you never ordered, or a statement for a bank account you never opened. These products are like locking the door after the burglar has left. These tools are built for damage control, not prevention. And in a world we've seen where fraudsters are using AI to scale attacks in real time, we can't afford to be one step behind. So, unless we change how we stop identity fraud, the numbers will inevitably continue to rise. And that's why we're thinking and we're planning to flip the script. What if we made all those stolen personal information and credentials useless at the point of application? I mention this often, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. That data is out there being traded by organized crime. So how do we make personal information useless? That's what we're doing with JustMe. JustMe is a mobile app that we hope will transform identity fraud prevention. It will put people back in control of their identities with a single tap in the app. For the first time, consumers will receive notifications to approve or deny product applications in their name. Rejecting an application would stop it by notifying the lender, preventing damage before it starts, and making stolen identity useless to criminals. So what's the process? How is this going to work? And perhaps why was it now that we've come with this product? So first of all, anyone, people like you and I, can register for the app in the way that we're now quite used to in terms of asserting our identity. You download the app, you enter your details, and you enable notifications. Then there needs to be a process to validate someone's identity to prevent fraudulent sign-ups. Having a liveness selfie is required, and a passport with an NFC chip as proof of identity in the first instance, so a mobile first, and for those where we can really have a high degree of certainty about someone's identity. And then, when you're registered with JustMe, if someone tries to use your identity, a notification is sent asking, "Is this you?" This will allow us to stop any fraudulent application in its tracks in real time. It's perfect for people who have been a victim of identity fraud before, or had their data leaked in breaches, or those who simply want to come together and stop the fraudsters. So accepting the request, if it's you making that application, validates that it's you. But if you want to stop it, you can stop it in real time. So how would it work? Well, I think the value of this is its simplicity, really. Product application is made with a provider. It could be you, or it could be someone using your details. Provider checks the applicant is registered with JustMe. Provider calls the JustMe and the National Fraud Database at the same time through the API gateway. The genuine owner, if the genuine owner of the identity is registered with JustMe, a push notification is sent in the app to verify them if not. Are you making this application or not? Is it you? And you can say it's just me. If you say it's not me, you return that response with any information we have in the National Fraud Database, and the provider can stop the application in its tracks. Application denied. And I think this is timely because people expect this, they understand that. Banks have had applications within the bank around setting up, say, a new payee. So you're kind of used to in-app notifications, and you're used to going to verify your identity to sign up. So I think it's timely that 5 years ago, it would have looked like this is a very strange thing to be done. But we're taking this further now. We thought we'd start the identity, but the scam problem is so huge, we've talked about it all day, that we want to provide everyone who has this app with a toolkit to stop themselves being scammed. The JustMe app will also, therefore, empower users to protect themselves from scam. We're partnering with Trend Micro, and we have great colleagues here today. They're a global leader in cybersecurity to give users the power to check suspicious texts, such as emails, URLs, and even video calls from scammers directly within the app. And then as we roll this out, we'll put the identity protection app within this toolkit. In one place, we could stop people empowering people to actually detect whether they're trying to be scammed, and then also protect their identity. So what does that mean? If we looked at, if Lydia had had this app, she wouldn't have that £12,000 loan taken out her name. She would have been able to say, no, that's not me utilizing my details. That loan would have never been granted. She would, more importantly, perhaps, she would be empowered to protect what's most precious to her, and most precious to us all, her identity, our identities, and giving her peace of mind. And for businesses, this is about stopping the fraudsters at the front door. It will mean less referrals, streamlined investigations, and reduced losses. After all, you don't want to make the payment out to an identity fraudster and then try to chase it. It's been gone. It's gone through a dozen other accounts. What would this do for identity fraudsters? It will make us the most unpopular organization in the country when it comes to fraudsters. We can stop them in their tracks. So why us, and why now? Well, Cifas is leading the charge with JustMe because we believe we're uniquely positioned to do this. for a number of reasons. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We're not focused on making money. We're focused on how much identity fraud we can stop. We're not replacing the identity providers. I think we're completing the ecosystem. And JustMe is a proactive solution that loops the consumer back into a journey to verify themselves. This is about giving them control back of their identities. So in conclusion, what do we want? And why have we asked you to come here today? Well, we believe it's time for a radical approach to turn the tide in identity fraud. We need to place the consumer back in control of their identities. And it's our role to create a truly collaborative national ecosystem that will make stolen data useless. But we can't do that on our own. The only way we can do this is through our members and our partners looking to integrate this in their onboarding journeys. We want you to come and talk to us about how you can make this come to a life within your organization. We want others to promote JustMe, for those who are our partners, to safeguard your customers and safeguard the UK. That's why we think it's time to flip the script and fight back against identity fraud. Thank you.